Good morning, Gold House. Today is Thursday, May 28th. Today I'm going to read to you part 5 of Diamond Willow. If you have not done so already, please make sure you're either reading along with the Google Docs that I'm sharing with you or listen to the read aloud so that you can respond appropriately to the questions. At this point, I'm getting little to nothing from a lot of you. One sentence responses or even one word responses are a little disappointing to read. So please do your best, continue to work hard. We have this week and next week for sure for classwork. Finish strong. That's all I can say. I'm trying to work hard on my end. I'm just asking that you put your best efforts in whenever you can. All right, part 5 of Diamond Willow. I had a sister, a twin, not identical. They say she was so beautiful, as if that proves the point. Why haven't you told me this before? I ask. Long silence before Mom answers. I've always planned to tell you. I know I've missed a few chances, but it's hard to talk about her without crying. And I don't like you to see me cry. Dad says we're so lucky to have you. I try not to think too much about what might have been. Grandma looks at Grandpa, who says, it was not our place to tell you. Xana says, don't blame me. I didn't know. Everyone laughs at that. Roxy gives a quick, sharp bark as if to say, hey, I'm here too. I would have told, but who listens to a dog? I've always missed her. That's the bold print. Why are they telling me this today? When they were worrying about me last night, did it remind them of those 4 nights Diamond was alive? Or are they telling me that they know how it feels to love someone you can't tell, like I love Roxy now? It's like walking through the kind of deep snow where each step makes you break through the crust and sink down to your knees. After they tell me about baby Diamond, I say, whatever we decide about Roxy, I'll always remember the day we all went to pick her out. Remember her intelligent, clear eyes? Will we ever see them again? I say, whatever we decide, like it's obvious to everyone. No matter what happens, I'm part of it as much as they are. Dad nods. Yes, he says. I do remember Roxy's eyes that day. Deep down, I remember her. Roxy, which is Diamond. I like hearing Willow say she remembers my eyes from the day they brought me home. I remember her eyes that day too. I was born to a Malamute who had led her team through 6 Iditarods, winning one of them. We were so proud of that. All the puppies scrambled for attention, tumbling over each other to get our mother to notice us. Maybe we'd grow up to win races like she did. But there were too many of us in that dog yard. The musher put out word that she was selling puppies, and people started coming by. They'd look us over, ask a lot of questions, and sometimes leave with one of us. I figured out that if I tucked my head into my paws, closed my eyes, and pretended to sleep until they left, no one would notice me. So I was sleeping when I heard voices I remembered from way back to another life. I opened one eye and saw a big boy, a little girl, and a man and woman I thought I'd seen before. The woman was wearing a red jacket that she could barely close. I opened both eyes and watched them closely. Willow, look at this one, said the man. The whole family came and looked me over. I stared at Willow and she stared at me, a long, deep gaze. She got down on her knees and held me in her lap. I licked her face and looked up, eyes shining. Let's take her home, Dad, Willow said. They brought me home and put fresh straw in my doghouse. They fed me well, and I was happy. Until they came until the day they came home with the baby. When they took her inside their house, I wanted so much to go in with them. I started howling. I couldn't stop for hours. Willow and Marty came out, bringing extra food and water. They ate, I ate and drank, and then I howled some more. Roxy, what's wrong? They kept asking, but of course I couldn't tell them. I couldn't say, I want to be the baby, not that one you call Susanna. That's when Marty looked at me, that penetrating look that made me wonder if he knew me. All he said was, maybe she's jealous of the baby. Willow answered, why? Just because Mom and Dad sit around looking at her whenever they aren't feeding her, talking about her, or giving her a bath? Marty laughed. Come on, he said. Let's hitch up Cora and I'll take you for a ride in my new sled. Get away from Babyland for a while. I watched them, wishing I could ride in the sled with Willow, knowing my best hope was that maybe someday I could grow up and pull the sled with Cora. Once we start talking, really talking, it doesn't take us long to decide to keep Roxy. Mom canceled the vet appointment when she saw I'd taken off. She said she and Dad were relieved that Roxy was alive, even while we were sick with worry about you. So maybe in a way I did help, just not the way I planned it. We all agreed that Roxy should go home with us. I get her settled into Dad's sled, hitched to the snow machine. What about me? Xana asks, and Dad hugs her and says, we want you to go with Willow in her sled, Xana. She thinks about it, then stands up tall and says, okay, I'll help my sister. So Mom rides with Roxy, and I take all 5 dogs and Xana. We head home together, and we stayed together on the trail. We arrive without any trouble, not one bit. We all get what we want. When Marty heard that I was missing, he flew home to help look for me. By the time he got here, we were all back, but he's staying an extra day anyway, and Mom is letting me miss a day of school to be with him. He stares at Roxy like she's made of gold, and then looks at me like I'm his equal. Hey, he puts his hand on my head. I think you're taller. I smile. No, I say, I'm not. You must be shorter. He laughs. Marty always does this, laughs like he is really enjoying me, but with a look on his face like he understands that my joking has a serious side and there's more to me than most people see. Marty always is on my side. I ask Marty why he's never told me about Diamond. You were Xana's age when we were born. I know you must remember. It's weird to say that. We were born. Marty answers, how do little kids learn all the things they're not supposed to talk about? Poop and farts and sex, Uncle Henry's drinking, Mom's gray hair. He turns to look at me, and the other baby, those few days she lived, the birch bark box of Diamond's ashes scattered in a secret, sacred place. You were with us, he tells me. In my memory, you're wide awake. Mom is carrying you zipped up inside that red down jacket she wore when she was pregnant. I know the one he means. She wore it before Xana was born. She still has it. Where? I ask him. Where is the secret, sacred place? Marty says, come on, let's hitch up Lucky, Cora, Samson, and Magoo. I still know the way. I'll take you there. Look at the sacred memory. I love riding in the sled with Marty driving. New snow looks like diamonds, like ashes, like diamonds' ashes. I'm daydreaming, looking around so I don't notice when Marty turns the dogs onto the old trail, the one Kaylee and I took by mistake when we got lost. When Marty stops the dogs, I look around. Could he know this is the exact spot where Kaylee and I camped out that night? Or could it be that Cora remembers when we stopped here, and that's why she stops now? But Marty says, this is the place. He looks around like he's in church. This is the place they scattered Diamond's ashes. Marty couldn't have heard from Mom and Dad that this is where Kaylee and I camped. I haven't told them. Way back then, Marty says, the spruce tree was much smaller. When they spread the ashes on its branches, it reminded me of falling snow. I blink. It was snow, I say, that kept us warm that night. Marty looks at me. What night? He asked. I tell him about camping here and staying warm under the snowy branches of this tree. We see a spruce hen sitting on one of the low branches. It is the same one. Is it the same one that I saw that night? It looks at me and doesn't fly away. I say, Hi, don't I know you from somewhere? I almost hear it answer, Hello, Willow. Yes, my dear, you do. Cora remembers this place from way back then. My diamond willow stick is almost finished. I'm sanding each diamond one last time before I polish it, trying to figure out why Kaylee has so many friends and I don't. Could it be because she's happy all the time? Maybe. That would be kind of interesting if being happy gets you friends and having friends makes you happy. I don't want a million friends, just enough that if one friend starts eating lunch with a boy, I don't have to sit there all by myself. Tomorrow, I'll go back to school. I wish I felt happier about that. Maybe being happy makes you happy. Dad and I go with Marty to the airport and watch his plane take off. On the way home, I tell Dad about the coincidence, how Marty showed me their sacred place, and it was the same place I camped that night. Dad nods, then asks, Do you know why we picked that place to scatter baby Diamond's ashes? Of course I don't. I was 6 days old. No one ever told me. That was where I found the diamond willow stick, the one you're working on. So in a way, that place is where your name came from, your names. I'm not sure how I feel about them giving me both names. I asked Dad, why does diamond willow have the diamond shapes? He thinks for a minute and answers, I understand it. A diamond forms in the sapwood at a place of injury or sickness, a place where a branch has fallen away. I'm not both willow and diamond. Cora, Willow's great-grandfather's sister. It looks like Roxy got herself back into the house where she's always wanted to be. I should try something like that, break a leg or something, see if they'll take me inside too. Sit by the fire like I used to, before they got the idea to hitch me up. Whose crazy idea was that anyway, to take a mutt like me and try to make a sled dog out of me? Oh well, I did my best. I was a good leader when I was young, and I can still do it when I have to. I understand all their commands, and I usually follow them. They like that. But I've lived around here for a long, long time and know a thing or two. So sometimes I take them places they should go, even if it's not what they're telling me. A few days before the twin babies were born, I brought their father to the Diamond Willow Grove. I knew how much he loved that beautiful light dark diamond willow wood. It makes a good strong stick you can hold onto when you're walking up a long hill in the dark. Less than a week later, I brought the family back. One baby was wrapped inside her mother's jacket, that was Willow, and the other, well, I knew what had happened. They were all so deep in their grief, I'm not sure they could have found that place again, but I know that old trail well, and I took them right to it. Marty had 2 different colored mittens, brown and green. I remember that because the green one kept falling off, and I'd pick it up with my mouth and bring it to him. That tree wasn't much taller than he was at the time. For a few years, I took them all out there every year on Diamond's birthday. But it was Willow's birthday too, and I suppose they wanted her to have happy birthdays like other children, so they stopped doing that. The night I took Willow and Kaylee out there was the first time in years I'd been back there myself. The storm came in fast that afternoon. The girls are young. They didn't know how ferocious it would be. I knew they'd need a place to sleep that night, and I was pretty sure I had less than an hour to get them to a place they might find shelter. So I headed down the old trail to see if I could find the Diamond Willow Grove. The trail was overgrown. No one uses it much these days. I might have missed the place altogether if that spruce hen hadn't flown along with us. When I saw her stop to rest on a low branch of the spruce tree, I stopped to look around, and sure enough, I recognized the place I remember from so long ago. Roxy was in the sled. Her eyes were bandaged, but she acted like she knew where we were. How? I've never figured out who Roxy was in her human life. No one I remember knowing. All I can say is she was more content than I've ever seen her, curled up with Willow through that long dark night as the blizzard raged and then subsided. So today, after reading part 5, don't forget that if you haven't done the vocabulary lesson, go back to Tuesday's lesson to look at the different types of poetry. And then don't forget to also answer your 3 questions on the Thursday, May 28th Google Doc that I will share with you. See you tomorrow.